What's going on, guys? I hope that you're all having a wonderful day today. For those of you that are new to the channel, my name is Ty, and today in this video, I'm going to be reviewing Alien Romulus, the brand new entry into the, you guessed it, Alien franchise. Is it good? Is it bad? That's what I want to talk about today. Listen, I'll be the first one to admit I am not a horror fan. Like, don't get me wrong, I'll watch like any movies, but horror is the one genre that I just do not naturally gravitate towards. I just don't get any joy out of getting scared, quite honestly. But I've got to say, like I was saying, I was really feeling this Alien movie because I am a science fiction fan, and this just seemed really thrilling. I loved the vibe from the trailer, so I was super down for this. Again, I was a little scared going into it, I'll be honest, but that's what Alien's all about. Make sure that you guys stick around to the end of the video, by the way, to see my final rating of the film. Alright, let's just get into this. Listen, Alien Romulus is awesome, okay? Let's just start off by saying that this is a great sci-fi, horror, thriller film, while also being the much needed win that this franchise needed. Now listen, I know that Covenant and Prometheus are kind of, split down the middle, whether people hate them or love them. I'm honestly more on the positive side, but I still understand that, especially after those bad Alien sequels from like years and years ago, I get why this franchise just needed a safe home run hitter, and that's what this film is. Easily the best part of this movie, in my opinion. I know that it might not hold as much weight for other people, but to me, I loved the way that this film was made. The sets are actually there. It's not CGI. The sound is phenomenal, like the sound design and all that, and most importantly in my eyes, because of course you're looking at the film, just that color grading. Oh my god, the lighting, it's so crisp, it's so clean. The best way I could describe it is that it looks like Matt Reeves style, almost like the Batman, but obviously with more of a horror tone, and of course in space with a little bit more white and that hospital feel. But I've got to say, the set design, the production design is just phenomenal. The practical effects are so off the wall amazing. And this is the thing, you can tell that it's practical effects, but in the best way possible. I feel like in a lot of films, CGI just throws you off so heavily. Like, even in Alien Covenant, the xenomorph is like basically completely CGI, and it's cool to look at and it looks very sleek, but you can just easily tell that it's fake. But with these xenomorph, when it's actually there, you can tell that it is in front of Kaylee Spaney's face. Speaking of the actors in here, okay, you've got David Johnson, I want to say. I know that he was in Rye Lane, which is another film that I've seen of his. He's easily the best actor in this film to me. I absolutely loved him. He stole the show. He's kind of like the pair that plays alongside Kaylee Spaney, right? Kaylee Spaney. I haven't seen Priscilla. I haven't seen Civil War. I need to check both of them out. So I wasn't too familiar with her. Of course, her name I was, but I haven't actually seen what she's been in. And she was great. I've got to say, she definitely held her weight with this film. Was she, absolutely insane? Was she Ripley? No, but that's okay. She doesn't need to be. But I think that she was a better lead than the female leads that were in the two previous films. So I've got to give her credit on that end. She's definitely the best of this modern trilogy sort of that we have going on here, or prequel, whatever you want to call it. This was a super solid performance out of her and David. I've got to say, they were definitely the pushing force in here. Also, Isabel Merced, who's going to be playing Hawkgirl in the DCU, I thought she was great too. She was kind of like a side character. She definitely has her weight in the plot, but still, regardless, she was also an awesome addition in here. Diving into the deeper details here about the actual film though, the plot, I've got to say, I think that the plot overall, the story that we're telling here, it's interesting for sure. It's relatively simple, especially that it doesn't take too long to get started, which I liked. I felt like Covenant and Prometheus, while they were more slow burn films, at a certain point, I'm just like, guys, can we just kind of get things going here? It feels like things, get going a little bit earlier on, and they just don't let you go for the rest of the film, and that's awesome. It has its moments to breathe, but either way, there's exciting things that are spaced out more proportionally that I really enjoyed. The kills are gory, and they look so real. Again, practical effects. I don't want to be the practical effects preaching guy, because without CGI, films would look horrible. We wouldn't be able to make, all these grand, incredible films that we have. But regardless, just some of the practical effects, when they're used properly, look amazing, and they just sell you so much better, because god, some of the kills in here and the deaths and this and that, woo, they are pretty brutal. Some of the best in the franchise, that's for sure. But yeah, just overall, this was a really enjoyable film. Was it scary? I guess that's something that I could get into here. I would say that as, again, a non-horror fan, it was definitely scary enough. Is it the most scary movie that I've ever seen? I don't think so, and I was watching this in the theater, you know, kind of like, oh god, what's gonna happen? But after a while, I was kind of able to just watch it, like, with a straight face. Like, there aren't too many jump scares. Like, it's thrilling, it's creepy, but it doesn't lean too heavily into that. And I'll get more into that in the negatives, maybe, because maybe I do wish that it made me jump a bit more. But regardless, I've got to say, guys, this was a home run hit. It's creepy, the tension is there, and the actors are selling it because, man, it just feels like it's constantly this mode of desperation from their end, and it's like, how are we going to survive just this absolutely horrific scenario with, you know, obviously this is what they call them, the perfect organism, because that's what the xenomorph is. It is horrifying. Okay, so I'm going to be getting into my negatives here. Now, listen, I'm going to be weaving some positives that I probably just forgot to mention already into these negatives as my ideas are going. But yeah, I just need to get these off my chest, or I should say out of my chest, right? Chest burster. Ooh, do not want that to happen to me. But listen, this movie isn't perfect, which is fine. No movie that has ever been made, regardless of how high people talk about them, are perfect. This movie does have negatives. I feel like the trailers here, right? They sold me on this idea, which they delivered on, that we're going back to the Alien and the Aliens days of the franchise, where it's like xenomorph versus human. Very simple story, creepy, thrilling, awesome characters, kind of just doing awesome things with awesome thrills and chills, whatever you want to say, right? But I feel like this movie, right, it has its foot on the gas. It has its foot on the gas. We're going towards that 80s style. But also, it's kind of leaning back on the crutch of these two sequels that we just got with Prometheus and Covenant. It feels like even though we're really going full throttle, oh, human versus xenomorph, it's more grounded in a way, we're still leaning on this crutch of feeling like we need to rely on the lore and expand the lore and go deeper into creation. And I loved that element of Prometheus and Covenant, but I feel like this wasn't the movie that we needed to keep this going. And again, it's not like the movie relies on it, but it does have a bit of a crutch. It's leaning back onto this lore thing that was involved with the sequels, if you guys are understanding what I'm saying. I'm just trying to talk in broad strokes here. As we get towards the end, a lot of people on social media have been raving about how the third act is just absolutely insane. It's crazy. I agree. I think it is very good. This is where I'm starting to get into my positives, right? It was awesome, super creepy. I was like, whoa. Literally, one of the scariest jump scares that I have ever seen in my life. My soul literally went out of my body like Doctor Strange and then came back. That's how out of left field this jump scare was. However, I just feel like what they do in the third act, I'm still thinking about it. I'm like, did I like that? Did I not like that? And again, I'm not trying to spoil here because there's nothing. I'm not gonna get into anything in specific, but it just leans back into the lore, and it gets kind of tripped up on the lore, and it feels like this movie was just running at full speed. And then right at the finish line, it kind of tripped right before the finish line, and then it kind of just did like a quick little crawl to the end. So it wasn't like a perfect, follow through. It was kind of just like, oh, trip, and then we're kind of just barely crossing the finish line. Which is okay, because again, it was a really cool third act, but it was just a bit confusing, and I just feel like this lore in the Alien, franchise, it feels like they don't know what they're doing, if I'm going to be completely honest with you. Like, they kind of know what they're doing with this lore. I know that I'm talking about lore for a while, but if you guys see the movie, you're going to know what I'm talking about. But it just feels very weird, which I like, though. I appreciate what they're going for here, this huge swing that Fede Alvarez went with this film. And I do like it at the end of the day, but again, I still am a bit conflicted, like, did I really like this crazy thing that they kind of try to do here in the third act? Did I even like maybe halfway through the film when they started to get a bit more into the lore, when what I really wanted to see and what they sold me on is the fact that this is going to be xenomorph versus human. Speaking of xenomorph versus human, this is something that I have to mention, and again, I'm not really spoiling here. I do wish that we got a bit more xenomorph, and I know that you could say that about any movie, right? If I see a Godzilla movie, I wish Godzilla was in it more. If I watch a Jurassic Park movie, I wish Jurassic Park monsters... Those are called dinosaurs. I don't know why I'm saying Jurassic Park monsters. But I want to see more dinosaurs in the movie, right? It's not that. It's more just like, I wish this movie was focused more on the xenomorphs, to be completely honest with you, which kind of ties back to the point that I was just making. The face huggers are really cool. They're in the trailer as well, but it just feels like it kind of tries to get a bit too complicated, a little bit too late. But at the same time, I kind of like what they were doing with it, because it's just weird, and it's wacky, and it's creepy, and it's unsettling, because you're like, this is uncomfortable. And that's what I like about it. But I just needed to bring it up because it's just something that had to be brought up, right? I'm kind of just ranting here, to be completely honest with you. I know I'm kind of repeating myself. Our characters weren't fully developed, and again, that's how the Alien movies have always been. We're not really worried about the characters, but as long as you care about them to some extent, that's what you need. You need those stakes in here. So they did a good enough job developing the characters, but I wish that maybe we spent just another minute developing them, you know, just a couple more minutes. But the standout character for me, though, again, definitely was David Johnson, or Johnson. I might just be saying his name wrong. He was phenomenal in here. But guys, that's going to just about wrap up my thoughts today. But listen, what's my final rating of Alien Romulus? I know I just had a lot to rant about, it seemed like, in the negatives, but I was just trying to dance around the point here because I don't really want to spoil anything about this lore that they kind of go into here. But listen, at the end of the day, this is a great time at the movies. It's thrilling. It feels creepy. Again, it's chilling down to your bones, man. You're going to be sitting in that theater like shaking at some points. Some of the set pieces that they set up here are just great. But what's my rating? I think that my rating of this film is going to be a 4 out of 5 stars. I think that, again, the things that it plays off of from previous films are pretty cool, but it does it feels like it overstays its welcome maybe. It kind of tries to go a bit too far, but in a way I kind of like it. Like, I know that I'm saying, oh, I liked it, but I didn't. It's kind of experimental, but I kind of enjoyed it. So, yeah, this movie delivered what I wanted and even tried to go a little bit further. It tried to, at least. And maybe over the course of the next couple of years, I'll kind of sway my opinion on it, but definitely going to be pretty controversial. So I definitely recommend that you guys go check it out and let me know what you guys think about this movie, because it's not just your straightforward Alien movie. It does get pretty weird and pretty clunky. So I've got to say, it's an awesome time at the movies. Go check it out. This is a great horror film. Thank you guys for watching this video. I love you guys, and I'll see you in the next video.